Good Monday morning. It's the morning break. I'm excited to be here. We did four days last week, which was fun. You know what it did, though? It made me miss Friday. I felt like we should have done a show Friday, but 3 days a week normally is going to be what you're going to get, especially during the summer. My wife thinks I should go to 5 days a week. We're not there yet. We are definitely not there yet with all the other work I have going on. I have great staff, but still, 3 days a week doing the show is a lot of time put in. Hope you had a great Mother's Day. It's different dynamic. Second year without my mom for Mother's Day, so it was different, but got to spend it with my mother-in-law. Had a great time at Nazareth Hall. They have a brunch there. If you don't know and you're not from the area of where I live, you wouldn't know what Nazareth Hall is. It's a very cool remodeled building. It's where Kristen and I, just about 5 years ago now, coming up on 5 years, had our reception. So it was a good brunch. It was a good day. And had a lot of fun. Chris and I did a lot of stuff. Planned a trip that we've got coming up, and then just realized that it was just one of those days of just not doing anything else. Chilled, had a great time, enjoyed ourselves for the rest of the afternoon and into the evening, and those are always awesome days. But kind of an interesting day, and this ties into a couple things. Today, by the way, is Eat Anything You Want Day, which ties into our sponsor, by the way, the great folks at my-snackies.com. The My-Snackies look-in cam. We're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, looking in today on the My-Snackies look-in cam. Love Myrtle Beach. It was a great place to go. Remember to check out my-snackies.com. Now, listen, you might be cooler than I am, and that is probably true, but I really wasn't in or understood freeze-dried candies until we got the great folks at My-Snackies to be a part of what we're doing. Now, listen, graduations are right around the corner. In fact, my text today filled with people inviting me to their kids' graduations. It's that time of year. We're in that cycle. So a lot of kids graduating. Be the cool people that come to the party. Bring some freeze-dried candy from the great folks at my-snackies.com. The other thing, of course, and I was going to tell you about the whole thing, and this ties into what I'm going to talk about next. I love coffee. So yesterday, we're there for the brunch. I get ginger ale, which is what I always get. But on the way out, they have a coffee stand. Incredible local coffee, which is really good. And I love all coffee. But I, of course, love the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. That's 7weekscoffee.com. 7weekscoffee.com. Now, listen, you've heard me talk about them for almost 7 months now. Can you believe it? We're a couple of weeks away from 7 months of the show being on the air, which is crazy in the first place, especially since I fought doing it for so long. But here we are, 7 months, and you've heard me talk about the great folks at 7weekscoffee.com. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Now, we're going to have the founders on very soon. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be a great show because, well, they love coffee and I love coffee. But right now, if you go to their website, use the promo code ATV10, get 10% off. And they know me well enough to know that I can't tell you, but there's some great deals on the website. My advice, though, start off like my wife did for me with the 4-pack. Get the variety pack. Get some morning roast. Get some dark roast. I love dark roast. That's what I always have in my cup. I think they have espresso now, which is really cool. I have not had that yet, so I can't tell you about that, but such good coffee. Amazing people. The great folks at 7weekscoffee.com. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Great part of what we do here at Abundant TV. And I wanted to thank you again. Hey, if you're watching live on the network or if you're watching this on replay, we appreciate it. You can also catch this show, not this particular show because it's a day ahead. So, we're a day behind. So you can catch last Thursday's show today on the network at 6 p.m. Eastern time. It is great to be with you. By the way, it's time of year where you're thinking about getting out. My wife and I yesterday, we did a quite a long walk, and so there are great places to go walking. One of those was established on this day in 1910. That is Glacier National Park. 1910, they created and established Glacier National Park. If you've never been, ladies and gentlemen, you need to go hang out. I could spend a month there, but usually I spend at least 4 or 5 days. That is it. Lovell is with us. This is a cool interview. If you love business, if you love talking about business, if you love God, we hope you do because you're watching the show. You're going to want to stick around. I've been excited, and we were talking about when we set this up. I believe it's over a month ago, and I've looked forward to this interview ever since. When we come back out of the break.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
I always want to thank the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order. Great coffee. Excited about having them on the show. And like I said, there are some great specials on the website, but they won't let me talk about it because they said we want people to go to the website. It's tough because they know I'd tell everything. That's just the way it is. Hey, I'm excited about this guest. Lovell's been somebody that I got to meet, Lovell. And Lovell, I'm going to have you say your last name because I am not going to hammer it this morning.
Oh, it's Casiero. My husband appreciates you for that. Lovell Casiero. Yeah.
See, so many people, and I've got 4 letters for a last name, but man, it is incredibly hard for people to understand how to say my name. So, Lovell, I want to talk. There's so much we can talk about. And that's what makes these kind of interviews neat. But first and foremost, I want you to introduce yourself to everybody that's watching. I always love to do this. Here's the reason why. I believe coming from you, it is your God story, not mine. I can read off your accolades, which are a long list, but I want to hear from your heart. Tell people about you.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a child of God. I was born into 3 generations of ministry, and I'm the 4th generation to work in ministry in my family. So that's what I am most proud of. And that's what gets me through all of the other accomplishments and trials and storms and all of that. So that's the firm foundation, Rob. I did spend 30 plus years. I think I stopped counting at 30 in the hospitality industry, leading the sales and marketing strategies for top 15 management companies. And as you know, as life goes on, and we talked about how quickly it goes by, I decided this year to just return to what I believe is my purpose. And that is to just do coaching and speaking. And I started a podcast, which I look forward to having you on, Unshakable, very soon. I told you my new favorite question is, what's your story?
Yep.
So
no,
that's kind of me in a nutshell. I've spent a lot of time just trying to share and pay forward the beautiful career that God gave me. Leadership is my niche, authentic leadership, and just want to do that for the rest of my life.
So that's a great question. It's actually was one of my questions. How do you define your leadership and how it works in your mind? Because I love that. I love that that's your niche. So let's dive in there. How do you define leadership? Sometimes people say, well, I'm not a leader, but really they are. So define leadership for people so they can kind of in the way you look at it, not the way everybody else looks at it.
Yeah, I would. So I was a leader of like my last job was a leader of 9 vice presidents, and so I led leaders. But I always say everybody leads somebody. Whether you're leading your children or you're leading your family, you're leading somebody. Somebody is watching what you're doing, and so I will tell you when I realized I was doing it wrong, because sometimes the mistakes are the learning moments of our
Mhm.
lives. And that was when I got my first above property job. And I went from one hotel to 27 hotels. And I was responsible for the commercial strategy. Well, press release went out. I started getting people congratulating me, but one of the things that they consistently said is the impact I had had on their career, and that was like a whoa moment. Like, I had made it all about Lovell, and I was chasing that title, I was chasing the money, but the awakening of what you're doing out there is really having an impact on other people's lives. And it changed my game. It changed the way that I approached my leadership. So I think leadership is really setting an authentic example for people to follow. Because I always say this, the one thing you have to have as a leader, you cannot be a leader. You have to have somebody that's willing to follow you.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So you're now speaking, you've got the podcast. How has this transition kind of been for you? Kind of leaving the corporate world to doing what you're doing now?
Lonely.
Very true.
I have a good friend, John Elston, and he checked on me one day through Messenger, and I said, it's interesting. He said, how are you doing? I said, it's interesting. And he said, solopreneurship. No one's coming to help us. But what I also have learned is no one's coming to stop me either. And
Mm.
so, when you worked in such a busy job and you were sitting on Zoom calls almost all day, every day, or in an airport or in a hotel in a conference room, you know, it's lonely when all of that kind of goes away. And what you have to realize really quickly, if you're out there today and you have a vision and a purpose and you're thinking about starting that vision or that purpose, what you have to realize is whatever you're leaving behind is not really your identity. And it took a little bit for me to realize that executive vice president of commercial strategies was not my identity. And that my identity is found in the maker, that the person, the God that made me. And I really, Rob, it's a great question, because I'm so honest. I didn't slide into it easily. I had to really do some praying and some surrendering the plan to God, because I always had to have an answer and a plan for people. Um, and so, yeah, it's been a little bit different, but I was driving in this morning and I was thinking about us meeting today and the opportunity to share my story as well as my beliefs. And I just thought, who's got it better than me? And I know
That's
you
it.
showed Myrtle Beach, but my beach is better. So
Where are you at? What beach?
I live at Surf City, and
Okay.
yeah, I live in Surf City, North Carolina, not too far from Myrtle Beach, but yeah. And
All
it's just
beautiful.
you constantly you just see the wonders of the universe and God and what he has made. I am so grateful that he kind of planted me in this really cool part of his creation.
So I saw on your website something you did called strategy versus soul that I saw on there. Tell us about that.
Well, um, I think it goes back to what I just said, Rob. Like, I had a situation in my life where I left the hotel industry for about a decade, and it all started when I made a promise to my dad. And I promised my dad that I would run his television ministry if anything ever happened that he couldn't. So we don't have time to get into all the why about that and all of that. I tell that story on Unshakable, but what I realized is that sometimes, in that situation, Dad was Moses, and he was not available to continue to lead, and I was Joshua, and I had to step up. And what I have realized in recent scripture that I've been studying is that he didn't say he would prepare Joshua. God didn't say he would give him strength or knowledge or anything other than he said, I'll be with you. I'll be present. And so I think when you're a planner and an entrepreneur and you're a person that always needs to have a written statement of your vision or a vision board or whatever, I recommend that you just kind of. I literally lifted my hands standing on the beach and said to God, "I'm just surrendering this to you." And if you got, and I love to say this, and with this beautiful ocean and sunrise and birds flying and fish in the ocean, and I look out there at the ecosystem and I say, if you've got all this, you got me. And so I get chills every time I say it, but we know that what that is, those Holy Ghost chill bumps there.
Yep.
But it truly is, it works. Like, it sounds so simple, but it works. Just know that God's presence is with you. Faith without works is dead. So you can't just sit there and expect that God's going to dump it in your lap. But the prayer and the surrender and the discernment turns your strategy into a more soulful purpose.
I love
I mean, I know purpose is overused these days, but calling, purpose, whatever you want to call it. But yeah.
I love what you said too. And there's something else I wanted to follow up with, because I think this is kind of interesting. You left the executive world to go into starting your own company. So let's say there's an executive watching right now. I want you to give them a couple of pieces of advice as they move from executive for a company to a solo entrepreneur, probably, or starting a small company. Give them some advice that you've learned now as you've transitioned over to where you're at.
Well, I actually started my company. The paperwork was done in 2014. And I went out on my own in 2015. And God had another plan in 2019 to pull me back into a corporate job, because 20, 21, 22, 23, we kind of remember all the things that were happening then. And he preserved me in a place where I was getting a regular paycheck rather than being in business for myself. But what I was able to do is look back on that business and that time when I started FLC Business Consulting and think about what I should have done, shouldn't have done. And so the one thing I should do and should have done and spend more time doing is selling. And when I say selling, I don't mean like trying to sell your product or sell, but selling starts with making a relationship. And if you just make relationships, the rest will come. And so first of all, make your century list, 100 people that everybody knows at least 100 people, and, make that century list and call them and let them know what you're planning. Listen to their advice. A lot of people don't like to get unsolicited advice, but I take all the advice I get. Some of it I use, some of it I don't. Some of it I learn from, and some of it I learn what not to do. But I just think, build the relationships. The other thing, and I say this in my book, I wrote a book on leadership called Lead Like a Girl. And I say this in my book, if you want to have a widget and you want to sell that widget, go find 5 people who have a widget and are selling their widget and are successful, and talk to them. Talk to them. You would, if you want to be a speaker, go talk to some other speakers. Find out what they're doing. It's one reason why you and I are talking, right? Is because one day I got a message from you on LinkedIn and I saw what you were doing. And I said, yeah, I want to talk to this man because he's doing what I want to do. And so there you go. Like, talk to those people. And then the last piece of advice, the very last piece, there's kind of a 3 thing: build the relationship, talk to people who are doing what you want to do, and don't spend money unless you pray about it for 3 days.
I love that
And then if
one.
you still want to do it 3 days later, do it. But I have spent a lot of money. You need to join this, or you need to do that, or you need to be in this. I now sit back and pray about it at least 3 days, sometimes longer.
I love that. I love that. There were a couple things you said I want to touch on. First one is, for some people, they may never have heard about a century list. Give them a little definition of that, because they may be going, what was that? Hold on. I want to write that down. So define it again for everybody so they can write it down.
I call it a century list because my goal was to have 100 names of people that I have either worked with, or I know through conferences I have been to, or people I've done business with, or just people that, I know from life, from church, from introduce my neighbors, whoever that may be. And I wrote a list of 100 people and I began to reach out to them by email and set up calls and just tell them what my vision was. And just really, Rob, as you know, I mean, you are the king of this. So I'm preaching to the choir today. You build a relationship, have a call, like have a 15-minute call. It's not going to hurt you to talk to somebody for 15 minutes. And I promise you, you will walk away with a nugget.
Mhm.
If you have a 15-minute conversation with anybody, you will walk away with a nugget if you're not doing all the talking and you're doing some listening. And so your century list is simple: 100 people that you know, and then start, reaching out to them.
And I think the one thing that, especially when you're starting out, that is so important is something you said, which I love, is find 4 or 5 people that are doing what you're doing. And then really, hey, it never hurts to ask. I know people will say, oh no, I don't want to do that because I'm embarrassed. What if they say I'm not interested in talking? You're going to get a lot of no's. If you're in business, there are more no's than yeses.
There are a lot of no's in business. I agree with that. But most of the time in this particular scenario, if you are reaching out to somebody to say, hey, I've been watching what you're doing and you're doing it really well, and it's something I've always aspired to do, tell me what's your secret to this, what's your secret to the sauce.
Oh, I love that.
People
Yeah.
talk to you. I
And
know
see,
I know people will say about me, I know how busy you are. Oh, I'm never too busy to have a conversation with someone who wants to learn.
Oh, I love it. It fires me up. And the thing that comes out of that is, especially if you're younger, there's occasions where you're going to mentor somebody. You get a chance as an older person, and I'm not young anymore. I've got a thing where I'm doing through a program out of Michigan, where I am now mentoring a young person who wants to get into doing what I do in broadcasting. And it's exciting because it kind of fires me up. And the thing was, they were very hesitant to ask me. And I'm like, no, that's awesome. I want to share, because you want to share what it is you have.
Exactly. And listen, you're never too old to learn. And you can, there have been some things as a solopreneur that I used to have people to help me with. And I have literally had to sit down on a Saturday and teach myself how to learn Canva. You know what? But it's energizing that I'm still learning. It's energizing when you accomplish setting up your CRM that, again, for so many years as a leader of leaders, I had people that were doing these things and I didn't have to know them, but now I have to know them. And I love the lifelong learning piece. But Rob, you are amazing and will be blessed beyond measure for giving back the knowledge that you have to the next generation and the next generation. And so I'm never too busy to mentor somebody.
I love that. You mentioned the book. Talk about it really quick because we are coming up to the end of unfortunately, of our interview. But tell everybody about the book. You
Yeah, thank
mentioned
you
it.
so much. It's called Lead Like a Girl, A Leader's Journey from Aspirations to Achievement. It's genderless. I know a lot of guys are like, yeah, whatever. But it really is genderless. It's called that because it's my story of climbing the corporate ladder. I always say two things, and I'll make this really quick. The one thing that surprised me about writing the book was I thought I was going to write leadership lessons. I had to tell the life lessons because that's what created the leader I became was the life lessons. And so that's where it got really authentic. And that's where the authenticity and leadership mantra came from. And then lastly, the decades that built me is my most favorite chapter. And I had to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when I was in my 20s, I was making terrible decisions and paying for it. And so, I have to give a little bit of things that was like, I never thought I'd tell that. But it at the end of the day, it is a story of blessings and success and about how to lead your team and make them want to follow. My
That's
granddaddy used
awesome.
to preach a sermon that said, you can't lead without being able to follow. And the end of it was, you can't be a leader without someone to follow you.
Oh, I love that. Give the website so people can find your book.
It's very simple. It's lovellcasiero.com.
That's
And if
it.
you go
So
to lovellcasiero.com, I'm also on Amazon. I'm also on Kindle and all of that. But if you go to lovellcasiero.com, you can order a copy and it'll be shipped straight to you.
and that's where they can also find the podcast, I assume.
Yes, it's coming. My page for my podcast is coming.
Okay.
But I do have a YouTube channel. I'll do would love for you to follow me there. But I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for being with us, man. I just hate the time went by so fast. Thank you, Lovell. Appreciate you so much.
I look
Hey, listen, it has been a great day. Appreciate each and every one of you. It has been a Monday, and that's the way we roll. We get to this point. It's the end of the day for me here on the air, not the end of the day for work. Just appreciate each and every one of you spending part of your morning with us. Great. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.